We just survived Brat Summer, but is the public ready for Brat Prince Summer? An official sneak peek dropped last week during IGN's FanFest, and we are definitely in for a wild ride. If you're new here, I'm Chris.
And Valerie.
And welcome to our little podcast, Haunt Couture, the show where we break down all of your fave wardrobes behind your fave horror media and adjacent sometimes. And today is a very special day.
Yeah, I think we were serious when we said any sort of teaser that comes out about this show we will cover because, boy, we are in for a wild ride, like you said. Our favorite Brat Prince is officially coming back to our screens this June. We finally have at least somewhat of a date confirmed. And we got a nice, juicy sneak peek into his world this past week. For the first time ever, we're about to see the world through Lestat's eyes. With that being said, let's break down the exclusive clip by frame and scene. Let's get started.
So before we begin, there's been a press release from AMC confirming Lestat's successful release of his debut song, Long Face, which you should stream now on Spotify, by the way. We can expect new music to roll out in the upcoming months, leading to the season premiere. So we're picturing about a June 7th timeline-ish, because that's also around the same time another series is about to premiere called, I believe, The Audacity, right? I think they just announced that trailer as well. So yeah, as one of AMC shows is about to premiere around the 31st, we should kind of expect some more news from our favorite Brat Prince.
Yeah, people were like very quick to like look at AMC's like series lineups and they're like, okay, this show is ending on the 31st of May. So it makes sense that the following week we'll have the Vampire Lestat because I think normally AMC likes to like every Sunday have some sort of new episode out of a new like of a series. So yeah, we're speculating around June 7th, but nothing has been officially confirmed just yet.
This is all
But let's
allegedly. Don't sue us, please.
yes, exactly. So let's start off with our thoughts about the clip. What do you think?
Honestly, I was kind of like, when I first watched it, I was like, okay, this is gonna be it. Like, maybe we're gonna see a little bit more of Lestat's world, and I feel like the cinematography was a lot better. No shade to anybody working on the show, but that's something that I kind of noticed right off the bat, that it's more rich, it's more lush, and it's very, very different compared to like what we've seen the last few clips we've been given from the Vampire Lestat. And yeah, it just makes me feel like we're gonna really see the world through his eyes, like you said. Like, it's gonna be very different compared to the last two seasons, and I'm kind of excited. What about you? What did you notice?
I noticed a lot of things. I was just so surprised that we got a clip. Was only expecting really like some interviews or something because we know
Same,
Sam and
yeah.
Jacob had reunited. I think they were in Georgia. So everybody was saying, "Oh, they might be filming like some sort of like interview or something to present at IGN Fest." So when I saw it was a clip, I was like, I was at work, so you can only imagine how hard I was trying to hold it in. That I had like a clip right in front of me. Um, but yeah, immediately I was like just seeing a lot of like the vibrant like color palette that we're gonna get. Like, I mean, even just going back to the original trailer that they released this past year, we're definitely gonna see like a lot of blues, a lot of yellows, kind of like, that atmospheric vibe. So yeah, I'm excited to see the cinematography in that and immediately noticed a lot of the like artwork, a certain table sitting behind his piano, which obviously so Lestat, and then just a lot of, like, the auction pieces because I think we were texting when they announced the auction, was going on, and we were like, "Where are all these things gonna go?" Like, and lo and
Yeah.
behold, most of them were, like, in his house in Montreal.
Yeah, like in the auction, there was like a bunch of light fixtures and like side tables and like chairs. And I'm like, where is this from? Because it's not from like the previous seasons. It's more
Mhm.
contemporary art, you know? It's more
Yeah.
modern. But like, yeah, now we know it's his house. Like, we're
Yeah.
literally getting stuff from his house, which is kind of crazy.
Yeah, so obviously, like, the biggest thing that I saw And that I thought of really was like immediately thought of while watching the clip was obviously he and Louis are talking again on FaceTime. Lestat with his big ass iPad has to have like the biggest iPad screen to see Louis, which we love. Um, he's a Beyonce fan, and you know he was trying to get him and Louis tickets.
Yeah, I saw like the fan sale, whatever.
The
Like,
notification, yeah.
yeah.
I need a scene where Lestat is in a master war because it's brutal.
Dude, I would not want to be in the same room as him
Yeah.
in the queue.
Imagine if he
Like,
does not get those tickets.
nah, fam. He's gonna have to buy out the stadium for that.
Hopefully
He
he
can
doesn't
afford
use
it.
Ticketmaster for his like shows.
Oh god, I hope not. I feel like he's the type of guy to like do the first come first serve thing,
Mm,
like in
yeah,
person, because he's like, oh, I want these people to fight over me, like
true.
that's just the vibe.
Yeah. But one of like the biggest things and obviously like a lot of discourse among like fans of the show is the reunion at the end of season 2, which for people who know like the novels, they know that in the Vampire Lestat says that he and Louis never really reunited after Paris. So it's pretty much a contested reunion. And so now with this exclusive clip and with what Louis was saying, Montreal, I am he is me, everyone was immediately like, okay, so the reunion did happen. So that then is like, okay, so if that happened, mind you, like by the end of the interview in the show, it was 2022. It's 2024 by the time that we like meet Lestat and Louis in this new clip because obviously he's trying to get, I think, Cowboy Carter tickets is what people were saying.
Right? Yeah.
So that's 2 years that they've been talking, right? And so obviously people were mad, like, "What do you mean you didn't tell him about the book in this
Right.
2-year time frame?" So, yeah, a lot of going back and forth between the fans about whether the reunion or not happened. And obviously now we can technically say that it did, although some people are saying that there are other ways maybe they could go about saying that the reunion was contested, which true. But yeah, we'll see how that plays out. But yeah, that time frame of, like, 2 years and you not saying anything is crazy.
That's messing me up, and also the fact that like if you read the books, Lestat like goes to sleep for like a good decade or even
Yeah.
longer than that. So I'm like, oh, so that's not going to happen either, where he's not going to bury himself underneath the earth. So like that's
Mhm.
kind of messing me up too. I thought they were going to like show him going through all the horrors. Not that I want Sam Reed to go through all that himself because I'm sure that's
Yeah.
quite a lot. But like that, I was kind of excited to see. But like, I'm not disappointed because I know we're in good hands. But like, I
Mhm.
was expecting to see him crawl up from like the dirt, and like kind of like be born into this new world where he gets to see all this new technology and stuff. And like, that's why he didn't know about the book. But yeah, 2 years and not telling your husband that like you told the world your deepest, darkest secrets. Not a great look. Like that look that he has on the iPad, it's like a oh shit look,
Yeah,
and I
Louis
like
like,
that's like the oh I messed up look, and like
Yeah.
that had me dying the first time I watched the trailer.
Yeah, and then I just when he like, when Lestat was walking up to the bookstore, like, obviously he's mad that he told somebody about, like, their personal life and now it's, like, publicized, but there's also that, like again, if you're familiar with the material source, Lestat is sworn to secrecy about sharing anything of, like, vampiric origins. So my mind immediately went to, "Oh, he's panicking because now Louis is telling his story, which obviously involves Lestat, and he knows some ancient vampires that know him." So it's like, "Uh, why are you telling people about me?"
Exactly. I was like, oh, those who must be kept are gonna be woken up because of this, because of what
Marius,
Louis
yeah.
did. Also, the fact that like with the with the iPad, he switched it around. He still doesn't know how to
Yeah.
use it.
Like, yeah, you know, you can, like, switch your camera.
Armand needs to teach him. Honestly, they're in
Oh
competition for the
god.
biggest iPad. They're such iPad babies.
Yeah, Herman definitely for sure. I was honestly kind of surprised to see him somewhat knowing how to work the iPad because it's obviously like a canon thing where he's just terrible with technology. and constantly, like, loses his phone and forgets how to email. But yeah, I mean, he has to learn at some point. He's gonna live forever, so
He's a resourceful person. Like,
yeah.
if you guys read Devil's Minion, this dude is kind of crazy. Like with the way that he's so like on it. So like, I'm not surprised, but also kind of am surprised because like, yeah, he does lose his phone quite a bunch, and he has Daniel do his dirty work. So, which speaking of Daniel's picture in the article, which I thought was kind of funny that he's wearing sunglasses, you can still see his eyes. I'm like, who are you
Mhm.
trying to fool? Like, he's gonna know. That's the thing. I'm like, Lestat has to know that he's somebody's fledgling because there's just no way that a human would survive knowing this type of stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think that's also if, like, if I'm thinking correctly, that's when he was giving that interview at the end of season 2,
Mm-hmm.
where he's wearing those glasses. I can't wait for Lestat to find out
Who is
that
his?
this is Armand's fledgling, the one and only, because he's never, like, turned anybody else into a vampire, which is crazy. So he knows that this is somebody important to Armand, so we'll see how that plays out.
Speaking of Armand, even though we don't see him in the trailer, he is mentioned by the bookseller, who is also dressed kind of like Anne Rice, by the way, which I thought was kind of cute. Even though I have eyes on her because why is she calling him a beta boy? That is kind of weird. I'm like, what, what's going on here? But yeah, I want to know what were you thinking during that scene?
With the fangirl? I mean, we kinda knew that that's where it was kind of going with the clip that they released at San Diego Comic-Con, like, 2 years ago, where it was sort of like them setting up the, um wherever they were for Lestat to do his, like, documentary, mockumentary, or whatever. And you could see that one guy with the tattoo, Armand told the truth. So I figured they were gonna get a little bit meta with, like, the fans and, like, people having like, picking sides. And obviously how Lestat is painted in the book, it's not a very good look, so you would expect people to gravitate a bit more towards Armand. But it was funny because she was showing a picture of herself visiting the Louvre with the painting. And so many fans have done that too, just gone to Paris to visit that painting.
Literally, when this trailer dropped, so many people posted their picture, their version of that exact picture, and I'm like, yeah, guys, they're kind of talking about you. Like, no offense. Like, it's kind of true though. Like, people kind of like fetishize Armand a little bit and his very traumatic past. Like,
Mhm.
we're gonna probably get more into that as the season goes or develops, but like, let's just say that his past is like really dark, very, very bleak.
Yeah.
And I just feel like this kind of ties back to like that other trailer of like the fan wearing Claudia's dress, like
Oh,
that type
yeah,
of
from
vibe,
the
you know?
Talamasca, yeah.
Yeah. And I was like, guys, they're kind of talking about us. I mean, not us really, but like you guys, like, ooh, like
Yeah.
it's gross. Even like the faceless stack makes
He's
all of
like,
us.
"Huh?"
Armand's so mysterious, and we're all like, huh? Like,
He
okay,
said,
sure.
"No, honey." Let's get into a little bit of, into the wardrobe. We didn't really see much because we at the opening shot, we see Lestat, playing the piano again. He's composing music, getting back to what he loves. I can't remember if he told me if it was confirmed that it was a rendition of "Come to Me."
It's been speculated, and I'm
Mm,
pretty sure I didn't put it in our notes, by the way. The song that the band is practicing is Black Licorice by Daniel Hart,
mhm.
or
Yeah,
is allegedly that song.
yeah,
But this statement hasn't been confirmed, but it kind of does sound like "Come to Me," and that's why he's kind of like offended when Louis like, "Oh, it's
nice.
nice."
It is a nice word, okay, people? I'll defend Louis, it's okay.
He's like, Beyonce wouldn't perform it. I would have been like, well, is Beyonce performing it or is it me? Like, very different people here. But like in that shot specifically, I remember like when I was watching it, like thinking, oh, did they like fill in his eyebrows? And like
I did too, I was like, "Who gave him an eyebrow pencil?"
he go into Sephora for real. Let me get those points real quick. And it
We
looks
need
like
a beauty routine with Vogue.
literally like what's in my bag,
Yeah,
honestly. And it
get
looks kind
ready
of
with
like
me.
and it looks like when he was a Harlequin, or allegedly. Okay, like how he used to fill in his eyebrows and like the
Mm-hmm.
messy mascara and like the lipstick, and I was like, damn. Wonder if this is like just muscle memory for him, like everybody else when we're doing our makeup. Like he's just used to it.
Yeah. I think one of the things that immediately like stood out was he's wearing like kind of like obviously through as the season progresses, we're gonna see him really embrace that rock star persona and wearing all these like, flamboyant pieces and seeing him like so relaxed and like at home, it was very, very, very like refreshing because that's who he like, we're seeing the real Lestat, right? So this is how he likes to dress versus again when he's kind of spiraling going into or playing the part, I guess, that he was given in the book. We will see him in a bit more extravagant pieces. So and I think that's like a lot of the things that people were commenting too was like, oh, he's just like in all black, just like at home, wearing like a sweater ish type. Um, I couldn't really see his pants, but somebody was saying that they were a bit like loose fitting. And then I don't think we saw the shoes. At least I couldn't see. I don't know if you saw them.
When he's walking outside, they're like boots with like a really thick heel. I don't
Mm,
know if it's the same pair from like the other trailer where it's like, oh, it has like that the words inscripted in the bottom for like
mhm.
on the soles. I don't know if it's
Yeah.
the same pair, but yeah, I noticed that too. I was like, whoa, like it's kind of creepy seeing him kind of relaxed. And that's why I went back and forth with like the auction because I could have
Yeah.
sworn there's been like many, many black sweaters that were like up
Oh,
for
yeah.
sale. But then they
Yeah.
vanished. I checked and they're not there anymore. Even like after it ended and everything, like at the end of last month, still. They're not there. So I thought that was kind of weird.
Mhm.
But yeah, I was talking to Valerie a few days ago trying to figure out where is that coat from with like the really big padded shoulders. We have
Yeah.
no idea. We're probably thinking, okay, Lex, who is the costume designer for this season, she probably made it or was on loan from a bigger designer because we can't find it,
Mhm.
even though it's really cool and I really
Yeah.
like it. Still, I want to know. I also tried looking for the sunglasses. Can't find those either. So
Hopefully, as we get closer, we'll learn a little bit more about like his wardrobe, obviously. But also like the hair, he's got like a fresh like blowout kind of look. And I've seen like so many people saying like as again he's spiraling from the book and reckoning with how Louis sees him, how he viewed their time with Claudia, like everything's just about like fitting into this persona, this mask, right? So one of the things is like, oh, as we see him going downward in this spiral, his hair is going to change. So it's going to change from that like prim and proper curly hair to more of like that 90s wet curled, like scrunched up kind of look.
like a lioness, like in the book, like he's like a lion.
Yeah. So yeah,
Er,
it's going to be a device for sure coming up in the way they tell the story.
I've seen so many people joke like, "Oh, he got a Dyson Airwrap for Christmas, and he let Gabriella borrow it for a second because it looks really nice." And I was like,
Yeah.
also kind of taken aback by that because we've never seen his hair like that. Even when he had the blowout with that like one scene from like season two,
Hmm.
very different. Also, it might
We
be
just
because Sam's hair grew, but
I was
yeah,
gonna say, can we just, like, appreciate the hair growth? Like, even just, like, looking back at season 1, like, that is, like, shiny, healthy head of hair right there.
he got a fresh balayage. I know it when I see one
Yeah.
using that
Literally, I
same
was just
thread.
thinking back to, what was it? Was it Comic-Con? I think so, where he kinda had, like, those fresh highlights, like, in his hair. I'm like, "Ooh, they're cooking."
And I know he's hating every single second of it because he
Yeah.
hates having long hair, but he does what he does for the fans.
Let's talk about, like, a little bit of his character development.
Yeah, we're gonna see human Lestat, which is again kind of jarring. I am not ready for that, especially with his brothers and his mom. But I really do like how they show him being kind of goofy because that's how he is in the book. Like he's like
Mhm.
not this evil mastermind that's like want to take over the world, world domination. Like no, he's just a silly goofy dude who has no idea what he's doing most of the time. He just does things for the plot. He's literally that girl that's like I'm going to do things for the plot. He's the OG with that. So I like how he's like stumbling around. He drops the book at one point in the
Yeah.
bookshop and I'm like, "Oh my god, that's like kind of kind of tender, kind of nice, you know? What about you? What do you think we're gonna see with Lestat?
Yeah, again, just seeing how he really is. I know there's, like, again, like, the misconception that he's, like, the evil mastermind, but no, he's actually, like, really human himself. I know, like, people in the book and, like, even, like, among the fans, like, Louis is described as, like, the most human one of the vampires, but Lestat has some like, he has humanity in him. So, see that side being portrayed in the show, I think is what I'm excited for. Seeing, like, him and Louis, like, being playful again with each other, like, being flirtatious, you know? Yeah, so just seeing him just out of that, like, element that we saw from how Armand and let's be clear, it was Armand's portrayal of Lestat because he was psychologically manipulating Louis. Seeing him be quirky and awkward and, like, all these things, like, yeah, very endearing characters. I'm very excited to see that.
Also, like, he really took the time to figure out who lives in his neighborhood, which is really cute. Like, he was like, oh yeah, old money kids live here, trust fund babies. Like, there's a
Mhm.
local garage band, Satan's Night Out. I love that scene too when he's like correcting Louis, Satan's Night Out. And I'm
Yeah.
that's such a spouse thing to do. Oh my god, I love that little detail.
Louis in the background, like, okay, makes sense. Like, yeah, just seeing them, like, just be so comfortable with each other again and being friends because they started off as friends. I'm very excited to see that. Only for somebody to come along and destroy another marriage.
We're not gonna name names, but Peepaw.
Peepaw. That's you, Peepaw. But yeah, I like how he was talking about the neighborhood, and it's almost like him enticing Louis because that's kind of what Louis likes. He likes the finer things in life, and so just like those like trust fund babies that they like to eat, like I see that. And so seeing him being like, "Hey, this is where I live. You should come over because it's fun."
The way he's like, "Oh, come to me." I'm like, "Who does he think he
Oh,
is?" Like,
when
what a
he said
frat
that,
boy.
I'm like, "You have no shame."
That's like the equivalent of "you up." That literally to me, I'm like, "Relax, dude. Relax."
Yeah.
But
But
yeah,
yeah, he
I
also mentioned, like again, like, when Louis was saying, like, "Montreal, I am he is me." We have that moment of Lestat saying, like, "There's less baggage here," and Louis being like, "Yeah, I get it." Um, so it was also kind of interesting just to see that interaction too, because it's almost like they're n again, like, we don't know just from this clip, but, like, it's almost like they haven't really taken the time to talk about what's happened. It's more like, "Oh, it happened, let's just kinda keep moving forward." Now again, I'm sure just a small clip, this is maybe episode 1, um, we don't know that yet, obviously, so, again, we don't know if they've talked about certain things and just haven't talked about other things, but, he's, like, telling him, like, "There's no potholes, there's no hurricanes here," and then he talks about, when he does get homesick for New Orleans, like, there's a park nearby, Olmsted Park, which you found out was designed by Frederick Law Olmsted, um, and it's called Mount Royal Park, I believe?
yes.
Yeah. And so everybody was, like, immediately like, "Royal, Royale," like their Rue Royale home. This is obviously, like, a park that Lestat frequents when he misses home. So people were just, like, imagining him, like, sitting on the bench. I think there's, like, a lake at this park as well, and, obviously, like, Louis' last name is Louis de Pontdulac, which is the literal translation is "tip of the lake," which again, there's, like, a lake, so it's just the loose out of it all, you know?
He's like, "Let me flex my knowledge real quick, Mr. Art." Like, let me see if I could impress you so you could come over. Like, again, such a flirty thing to do. It's very them. And I even like how he teases Louis, like, "Oh, they mangle the French like you do here," making fun of like the French, the
I was gonna
Canadian French.
say, so when he said that, I thought about season 1 when they were, like, arguing in French. I'm like, to me, it sounded like Louis knows the language well, but I guess, obviously, like, the French obviously are better equipped to judge that.
I was like, "Damn, he's roasting everybody." Okay, fine,
Yeah.
whatever. Even though like I've seen people say like, "Was that?" He's just like mumbling most of the time when he's talking French when he's angry. So I thought that was
Mhm.
kind of funny. He's like, "Oh, they don't know how to speak it." Like, okay, Mr. Frenchie, whatever, fine.
I did kind of think, though, like, if he's like, "Come visit," I wonder if Louis has actually seen his house in Montreal or if they kinda just picked artwork, like, over FaceTime and they haven't really been, like, together after the reunion.
I wonder too. I kind of took it as like, oh, he hasn't visited yet. Like the way he's like, "Oh, you want me to see your guest room?" You
Mhm.
know, like he's kind of
Or
new.
even just, like, like, again, when he's describing the neighborhood, like, I feel like Louis would know if he
Right, if he went there or he
yeah.
visited. Which, by the way, not to sound stalkerish, but I did find out where his house
We're
is
past
at.
that point. And
Listen,
it's not just us, it's everybody.
for real. So apparently, right, Lestat lives in Montreal, like our fave Canadian hockey player, Shane Hollander. But in reality, his house is on Tranby Avenue in Toronto. And it's a Victorian looking house, but they make it look kind of like an apartment in
Mhm.
the trailer. But it is a house, and if you guys Google it, it is very, very nice. And it is definitely something you would probably expect vampires to live at. So have fun with that information, if you will. Do not harass people that live there, probably. But
I was gonna say eventually it'll become like an Airbnb, I think.
oh, for sure. Like, I think they're renting out the cottage from Heated Rivalry right now.
Yeah.
There's like a
Mhm.
huge wait list for it, so most likely, yeah.
Yeah, but then, I know we were talking about, like, his design, like, in his house, everything that he has in there, but, I don't know if you obviously, like, noticed, but there's, like, this painting hanging, by his piano where there are 2 people, like, kissing with, like, veils or, like, cloths around their faces. Um, so we did our sleuthing, and it turns out it's called The Lovers 2, which is a 1928 painting by René Magritte. And again, it's basically like 2 lovers kissing with veils covering their faces. Um, if it was in fact Louis that picked this out, we think it's a beautiful tribute to Lestat's letter in season 2, where he said, "A veil will now forever separate our union, but it is a thin veil." And then, goes on to say, "Always on the other side," basically just waiting for you. So if it was in fact Louis that picked this out, Lestat, how do you not know that he loves you?
Even like the background history of the painter is very, very similar to their relationship. So Magritte married his lifelong muse, his model, collaborator, whom he met as a teenager, and they married in June 1922, and they were inseparable, except for a very brief separation due to affairs in the late 1930s, according to this Tumblr post that I found. So, sounds very loose that to us, you know.
Mhm. But again, just the idea of Louis picking it out, like, I love them.
I know you mentioned the coffee table, which
Yeah.
is one of my fave details. I want to know if somebody bought that at the auction. I didn't see it the
I
last time
don't
I
think I
checked.
ever saw that table either, because I feel like everybody would be like, "What is this? And where is this going?"
Like hell yeah, let's go. But like
Ugh.
it reminded me of the sub necklace that Lestat wore in that one interview clip with Daniel. So I don't
Mhm.
know if that's like foreshadowing, like where his spiral is kind of like headed or what. But a lot of people have pointed out that he's not wearing the necklace in this clip specifically. So it's gonna get kind of chaotic very, very soon. So yeah, I thought that was kind of like an eerie little omen, but really cheeky and very, very rolling.
Are we ready to move on to Louis?
What's up with Louis?
So, I was very surprised again when going back to when, like, the clip starts to see that he was talking to Louis, because again, this pretty much kinda confirmed the reunion at the end of season 2. But we see Louis, just chilling. Just who knows if he's still in Dubai? We don't know if at this point he still is or if he's, like, moved out of the country and is now somewhere else, but he's wearing what we think is, like, a dark olive, like, cardigan with, like, a cream button up and, like, a chain tucked underneath, which it's good to see Louis back in his cardigans. He loves a good sweater. So, again, just finding himself after the events of season 2, and we see a bookshelf in the background, which, again, if you've been watching the past 2 seasons, you know that, like, Armand kept books out of Louis' reach. Like, they were literally designed to be like glued to the ceiling or whatever. So he would only be able to get these books through Armand because he can't fly yet. So again, just like another like manipulative tactic on Armand's part. So to see like these books behind him where like he can reach them and can read whenever he wants and just get back to, who his old self was, I think I was very, very excited to see. Um, but we were looking again through the auction pieces and I don't think we saw anything similar to what he's wearing in this clip. So maybe we'll learn a little bit more about that in the future as well.
I don't know if it's the same gold chain as what he's wearing in the behind the scene photos, if
Mhm.
you guys have seen. Or I did find a chain with like an engagement ring and like a magnet attached to it. So I don't know if it's that either. So it's kind of dark, even though it's a really nice angle. I will say, like, it is kind of funny that he found the perfect angle for this space time. Can't find the necklace or what have you. But I did find a few pieces from the rest of the trailer, which includes the silver swirl ring on Lestat's left finger, which sold for about $11 in like a pack, a random pack of rings. And then the lady grabbing the book, who I thought for a second was a vampire, but I don't think she is because of her nails. She's wearing like a really nice fur coat that they, not to be funny, revamped, and that sold for about $60. And the oh, Armand is so mysterious gal is wearing a button up that was about $5 at the end of the auction in a random lot. So if you bought one of these lots, it's most likely you're gonna like find something either the main cast wore or the supporting cast. But yeah, like there's just like a bunch of really nice pieces scattered across the auction. And I was trying so hard to find stuff for our fave vampires, but it's very limited as of right now. So yeah.
Yeah, and I know they've been keeping like Louis' storyline very under wraps. Like nobody really knows what his story arc is because again, he wasn't really present in the novel until the very end. And so with now knowing like having seen this clip, Louis obviously fails to tell Lestat about the book. So we watch Lestat find out about its existence in real time. And so a lot of the discussion that happened after the clip was released was centered around Louis' story arc for season 3 and how some fans aren't too thrilled with the idea of his character's regression. Because again, by the end of season 2, we see him embrace the fact that he's a vampire now. He's the knight, and obviously, like, finding out the truth at the end with the big, reveal that Armand has been lying to him for 77 years. And we get that scene in season 2, episode 5, where, he tries to take his own life, which is pulling from his story arc in the book Merrick. Um, so again, like spoilers ahead if you guys haven't read the novel. I don't necessarily see this as a regression. I mean, I don't know if you think differently, but I mean, he just learned that the past 77 years were a lie at the end of season 2. Like, I mean, I know we're dealing with the supernatural, but I don't expect like the floodgates of like all of his memories just coming back after, the revelation at the end. So I think to me, it makes sense, like from a storytelling perspective, especially because he's not in the book as much, and they obviously want to keep Jacob around because I think everybody would be mad if they didn't. But to me, it makes sense that he's dealing with the fact, like with the aftermath of that, like what else has been a lie, what else has been the truth. So yeah, the fact that he doesn't. This is why I'm like, okay, so they've been talking for 2 years or what? Because again, this is like they haven't really talked about their issues then. And mind you, Lestat at this point also still doesn't know that Armand psychologically like abused Louis by like replacing his memories with things that weren't true. Yeah. I don't necessarily see this as regression. I think this is more like, okay, now he has to take the time to really figure out what's the truth and what's been a lie. Because to me, it would have just felt kind of rushed at the end of season 2 if all of a sudden, like, everything just started to make sense, you know?
Right. And also like you said, like he went through psychological torture essentially with Armand, and a really big symptom of trauma is memory loss. And yeah, even though like he is a vampire and like, they heal quite fast, they regenerate every 24 hours, still, like, that's something that, like, sticks with you for a very long time, even if you're immortal or not. Like, I feel like that just goes to show how emotionally devastated he was, and he's yet to unpack that grief. So there's probably gonna be like a scene where he's like, "Oh, I really went through all that," and then that's gonna kind of like maybe coincide with Lestat's spiral. But
Mm.
let's see. I feel really bad for him. I really do. Like everything is kind of like just happening all at once, and even though they might, be talking or they might have been, in communication for 2 years, still, it's a lot to unpack. So, I don't think 2 years is going to make up for the fact that like this guy was putting stuff in his head and then this other guy left him for this guy, so like I feel like it's a lot to expect for him. He's still very human. He's the most human of the vampires. So, yeah.
Yeah, like just even like when he had to reconcile or just again just go through the acceptance of like his role in Claudia's turning. Like in season 1 we saw that it was, him placing the blame on Lestat, but we didn't really see again like until season 2 just how much begging like Louis did and how much resistance Lestat put up in turning Claudia. So I think again just having to reckon with that and his role in Lestat's murder as well, or what did or didn't happen that night and just other things. And there's some speculation again, some theories that they're still gonna pull from his storyline in Merrick for this season. I don't think we should get into those spoilers just because again, we don't know for sure. And um obviously we know Delaney's coming back as Claudia and she's a big part of that storyline as well. But yeah, if you've read the book, then you know where this might be going in terms of Claudia and Louis. But yeah, we'll have to see.
I want to know if he's dealing like blood paintings. I know that's like a really big
Yeah.
theory. And I every
Because
single
when we saw
time,
those paintings like in the auction, we were like, what?
the
Is
hell
he
is that?
selling these? Because I know from like that interview, they were like talking about like Louis like selling like vampire blood parts, whatever.
I'm telling you, every single time I check the auction website, I always see those jumpsuits and they remind me of like the Glossier employee jumpsuits. But then I'm like, maybe like these are like, I don't know, people that help him in his gallery or something. Like there's just so many of this exact like model.
Piece. Yeah.
So like there has to be like a really good reason as to why they're just like hoarding all these different denim jumpsuits because there's just no way that like Louis isn't gonna spiral as well. Like I feel like that's something people are kind of glossing over that like this guy's gonna go through it with Lestat, and I think that's why
Yeah.
like their marriage is gonna implode for a split second. So is it bad to say I'm excited to see? Like I really am kind of curious with where they're gonna go with him, Merrick or not.
Again, just because again, like, we see him we have that, like, image of him covered in blood, so obviously, like, we're seeing him, like, in all of his vampire glory, so to me, that's why, again, I don't see this as a character regression because for the longest time in the novels, like, he cannot accept that he made this choice to become a vampire, so, I don't know, to me, that just seems like he is embracing the vampire side, but having, again, to reckon with the human side, which is having to deal with all the emotions of the past and what Armand mind wiped from him.
I feel like the more we talk about it, it sounds more like denial on his
Mm,
part than regression. Like again, because of like the mass changes in who Louis is in the book versus like in real life or like in the immortal universe. He was a guy living in the Jim Crow era. Like he
mhm,
had to compartmentalize his feelings and his emotions and his trauma in order to survive. And I feel like he's doing the exact same thing here. So like
mhm.
it's no surprise to me that he's kind of delusional and a little bit in denial of like what's going on, and it's going to hit him even harder because he's putting it away further and further.
But yeah, the idea of them talking for 2 years and him just not mentioning anything is wild. Are there any other little details that we wanted to point out?
Since we're talking about, race, we're on that topic, I think it's also very important to point out that like Armand is whitewashed in the Immortal universe, like in
Mm-hmm.
the painting. And the reason why we're making such a big deal, or like lots of fans are like, oh, this is like kind of crazy, it's important. It's because like this goes like with the trauma themes happening in the show and in the book. Like it's very prevalent that Armand has gone through a lot of things, and we're gonna probably see or at least explore some of those things this season. And I found someone on Twitter explaining this in like the best way possible, saying that like in the universe, Armand has been whitewashed in this painting. This highlights both the racism that he has experienced in Italy and how Armand must be altered, or he feels like he has to be altered, in order to be accepted and loved by artists, audiences, and his lovers. And he kind of does feel like he's not beautiful enough, even like back in the Renaissance age to now, that like he needs to be, you know, changed. He has to be altered to fit whoever he's with, whether it be his lovers, his friends. He can't really be his true self. And that's kind of like why he acts the way that he does. Like he's been groomed to be a specific person. And that's why he takes such offense to people who reject him, specifically Lestat. We're probably going to see that this season. And yeah, he
Yes.
deeply believes he has to change in order to be his true self. And that's why, like, he kind of is bitter towards humans. And, like, he's bitter towards, people rejecting him at the end, Louis rejecting him. So I think this is going to, like, be very big next season. Or at least they're going to try to touch on Devil's Minion a little bit. And also with the lady calling him a beta boy, we were just talking about this. I know you just finished Adolescence,
Oh yeah.
and like this is kind of like it reminded me of like such like incel culture, and I had to like look up what the meaning was because we're kind of sane over here, contrary to all popular opinions. We have a life. We're not on the internet that bad. But yeah, according to Urban Dictionary, a beta boy is a male that is subpar in physical physique and mental capacity, making him inferior to other men. And the typical beta boy is a non confrontational and avoids any kind of dispute in the presence of an alpha male. The beta boy subjects himself to the commands of his superior. Lots of Andrew Tate shit here. So essentially, she's saying, or she's kind of reinforcing this idea that, like, Armand is submissive. Like,
Mhm.
he is not, macho, or he doesn't really live up to the expectations of the Western world and what people kind of like associate beauty with, even though she's literally fetishizing him and taking a picture with him. But that's kind of
Yeah.
like how lots of people treat his background. So I feel like this was a much needed slap in the face to lots of people who kind of like don't realize how serious his background is and Lestat, and like why they're kind of like foils to each other. So his Orientalism and trauma will be explored quite a lot this season, and we're gonna see a lot more about his background, even though we haven't seen him physically in the trailer yet. I wanted to bring that up just because, like, again, I think it's just something that we got to consider moving forward, kind of. Even though he's
Mhm.
not our fave character, still, I feel kind of bad for him, and I feel like they're all going through it at the exact same time.
Yeah, I feel like in general this season's gonna be just like a slap in the face, especially like for people that don't like Lestat, who really only know him from the show, so therefore have bought into this characterization of um the last two previous seasons. So like yeah, there's just like a lot of hateful comments about the character and it's like you guys don't understand that this hasn't been the truth. And yeah, I'm very excited and nervous for the discussions that are going to come about from season 3 because yeah, it's a slap in the face all around
It's gonna
for
be a
different
lot,
characters. Yeah.
absolutely. And at the center of everything is Daniel. So, yay.
He has like all the luck in the world. Literally, Peepaw making 100-year-old vampires mad and he's still alive.
And he's still not satisfied. He's like, let me turn the knife just a little bit more with that one clip of Lestat crying in the chair. He's like, let me see how far I can really drill into him. And speaking of Daniel, I know you caught this, that the book is in the back in the
Oh yeah.
bookstore. A
Yeah, I
few
think
other
it's Eric's actual book.
Yeah. and it's in an interview with the vampire, and then it's his book right
Mhm.
next to it.
Yeah, they've got, like, a lot of good books in the background, which I was
They
like, "You know
do.
what? Love you, set design team, because this is incredible."
I thought it was so funny how they had doll parts, which
Mhm.
is, if you don't know what the book is about, I highly recommend you look into it. Very Lestat, but then they also have like Bright Young Woman by Jessica Knoll right next to it, and that's about true crime and like what it means to actually explore, these real life cases versus exploitation,
Mhm.
which also goes with what the lady was saying about Armand, and respecting people's past and their history and not treating it like a spectacle. And then they also have a Bell Hooks book on the very
Mhm.
bottom, all about love, which they might need a little read on that, if you will. So yeah, there's quite a bit of Easter eggs in that little bookstore, which is kind of cute. And I love the way it looks on the outside when he's walking in. It is
Mhm.
such, I don't know about you, but like when I was reading, that's exactly what I pictured, like what San Francisco kind of looked like when Lestat was living there.
Mhm.
Like kind of like Gilmore Girls ish.
Yeah.
he's like the main he's like the main, character with that, and like all the little pumpkins and like the festive lights and the amber lighting and stuff. So props to like the costume and the production set design team for that. Like that's such a cool way to like adapt from page to screen. It's actually pretty cool.
Yeah. I love when people just, like, do their homework and they go above and beyond to bring something to life. So, yeah, that's why I'm like, everything we've seen so far, am I kinda nervous for some things? Yes, but I trust the team behind the show and trust Sam because he is very devoted to the character. All of them are, Jacob, and very devoted to the story and making sure that it doesn't stray too far from the characters from the novel.
Since we're talking and we're like, well, since like we're closing out
Mhm.
this episode and we're both obsessed with the Vampire Lestat, obviously, I wanted to ask you, what's one thing you're obsessed with right now? It could be costume related, not related, whatever you feel like.
What am I obsessed with right now?
Yeah,
Oh, goodness.
let's leave on a positive note.
That's a good question. Ever since, like, Heated Rivalry, I don't think I've been obsessed with anything. I'd say that's the last thing I was, like, truly. Oh, I'll tell you what, I'm re-entering my Harry Styles era, so that's what I'm obsessing over right now because his album's coming out on Friday. I'm very excited.
What did you think of the Chanel, um, what you call the flats that he wore?
I loved it. I was like, "You look like Jack Skellington." So,
Nice. Um, Man, something I've been obsessed with
I love how this is your question and you have to think about it.
because I had an answer. Listen, I already like thought about asking you this yesterday. I'm like, oh, this is such a great question. I did not think of my own answer. Um, there's this documentary on Netflix called
Mm,
All the Empty Rooms, and it's been something on my mind the last few days just because of how impactful it is.
mhm.
And I don't know if you've heard of it. Have you heard of it?
No, I don't think so.
Okay. It's a documentary and it's nominated for the Oscars this year for a very good reason. It's only half an hour and it's basically about this news correspondent who um he visits different rooms of children who have passed away from school shootings.
Oh.
And he takes pictures with his photographer friend of these rooms. And they did like a whole news segment about it. And they kind of talk about, the kids, their families, and like why they kept the room intact and like you know what I mean? Like
Mhm,
the child's legacy more than the tragedy. And at the very end, like they gave them this book with all these pictures of their room and of the kids and nice little memories and stuff for the families to have.
mhm.
And it completely devastated me when they showed
Oh,
the
yeah.
albums that they gave to the families. I highly recommend it though. It is such an incredible mini film, and I hope it gets more recognition as award season kind of comes to a close very soon, because I haven't seen lots of people talk about it. But funny
Mhm.
enough, I did find out from Melanie Linsky. who plays Shauna from Yellow Jackets, because she was talking about it, and I think her friend directed it. So I was like, oh, this is kind of cool. Let me see what it's about. Devastated. I went to sleep crying.
Yeah.
Like it's great. I highly recommend again if you guys haven't checked it out. But yeah,
Yeah, I'll definitely need to check that out. That's beautiful. That sounds very beautiful. Again, just kind of another wake up call that we need.
yeah, it really is. And at the very, very end, like the last frame is just all the names of kids who have passed
Mhm.
away since Columbine. And it's a jarring list. Like
Oh yeah.
it's insane. But I highly recommend. Yeah, what's grief if not love, everlasting or ever preserving? So we're gonna leave off on that note with you guys. But yeah, this is gonna be our second mini episode, I believe, and then
Mhm.
we're gonna go back to our regularly scheduled program. We're gonna be covering The Bride and Love Story, the Kennedy love story specifically. So stay tuned for that. And until next time, we'll catch you later.
See ya.